G'day and welcome to Sungrand Developer Diary for November 16th. I'm Terrell from Sungrand and I am working on the Carveallion game. Now the Carveallion game is something that my team and I are working on to sort of capture the spirit of the 80s, and that's in terms of the restrictions and limitations of the 80s era. And artistically and also with the sound effects and the music, we're really trying to capture the sense of the 80s, and we're trying to get into the headspace that developers in the 80s would have been in order to produce something that I think could be a lot of fun, and it's just a neat throwback to the industry of the 80s. Now this week we've been working on quite a bit of manual art and sort of the official artwork for the game. You might see our main hero here, Cress, and also Princess Seashella, who can join Cress on his journey as player 2. So 2 players get to play Carveallion and sort of travel the game together and everything like that. Now to create our art, we use 2 different drawing tablets or 2 different digitizers. The first is a Syntec tablet, which actually displays the screen on the tablet itself, and when we use the digital pen, it allows us to actually see where the lines are going, and that's important for drawing figures or landscapes or anything with structure that requires a high amount of accuracy. When we move into painting and coloring and blending, we actually use a different tablet here, and that is the Intuos. This is an Intuos 4, and the reason why we do that is because there's a different control scheme on the Intuos 4 that is a bit more streamlined and allows us to get work done faster. You can see the control wheel here. And that allows us to do things such as changing the brush size, or zooming in and out, or rotating the canvas. And that's something that doesn't really exist on the Syntec tablet as well. So that allows us to do things like painting quite a bit faster. Now on the programming side of things, we actually have been working on multiplayer aspects and debugging the multiplayer aspects and implementing a few of the more advanced game features. We are pretty late in development, but we still need to iron out a few bugs. If you've ever heard of a game called Secret of Evermore, which is a brilliant game, I highly suggest you try it. You might have heard rumors that it was supposed to be a 2-player game. Now, if you're into the emulation and all that stuff, you might be able to find a ROM online, which is actually a hack of the game, that enables 2-player mode. And that shows that developers of Secret of Evermore actually started implementing multiplayer in the game, but if you've ever tried the ROM yourself, you see that it is quite game-breaking, and there's a number of spots that crash due to the multiplayer being implemented. So that shows that they were trying to get things rolling, but by the time their release date rolled around, they did not have multiplayer ready, so they just kind of nixed it. So to avoid any problems, we have to go through the entire game very rigorously and find out where our multiplayer issues come into play, what sort of glitches or game-breaking sort of elements happen, and we have been fixing that up this week. We've also been working on level building and putting our dungeons together. In terms of the overworld, that's pretty much done. We're just dropping a few hidden secrets here and there for players to discover while exploring the game. In terms of dungeons, we've been building a few more dungeons and things like that. Now, we don't just drop tiles here and there on our in our workspace and think, yeah, that looks great. We actually go through numerous stages of sort of planning, and we sort of draw sketches and little diagrams, and this way we can map out, oh, you know what, it would look great if we put a couple treasure chests here, we can put some puzzles here and there, maybe a couple enemies here or there, and that way we can see ahead of time where there would be lacking in balance, or where we might be able to add a bit more challenge or create a bit more dynamic in terms of the challenge for the dungeon. In terms of dungeon design, we actually have just recently redesigned one of our dungeons. The theme for that dungeon is deception, and the original plan and the original design wasn't really working out for us, so we hit the drawing board, literally so to speak, and we created a new character that's coming really late in development, but he'll actually join the player character for this dungeon. He'll, run around and help you. Now, he isn't really strong. He's a bit of a timid character, as you might be able to see here, and but he does help the player with puzzles and maybe stunning enemies and things like that. So we think that adds a new element to the game that makes it a bit more interesting, and it adds a challenging gameplay to have to be able to work with this character as well. So that's what we have been up to this week. If you have any thoughts or any questions, go ahead and feel free to ask us. You can leave a comment in the comment box below, or you can go ahead and join us on social media with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or whatever, Tumblr. We've got a couple of other things on there. So feel free to ask us questions or leave us input, and thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next time on the Sungrand Dev Diary.